Well, guys, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about what would be, in my opinion, the best law of attraction book there is out there. In the meantime, whether you agree or not, please write down which one you think, in your opinion, is the best law of attraction book. Obviously, the whole law of attraction movement became really famous with the launch of the book and the movie The Secret. I think that was kind of a documentary that made the whole movement kind of explode. But I think there's a book that is even better, that if you want to attract abundance, you want to create an amazing life, and especially if you want to become wealthy, you want to become a millionaire, I think there's a book that is way ahead of that. And that book is Think and Grow Rich. I don't think there's any book that has been written in history that has produced more millionaires than that book. And you can actually assess that by, if you ever heard about this podcast called Bigger Pockets. Basically what they do is they find real estate investors, sometimes people who started from nothing or whatever. They use several methods, and people who became millionaires by doing real estate, a lot of deals. And at the end of the podcast, they always ask, what's your favorite book? What's the book that has had the most impact on you, on your finances, whatever? And I would say probably 9 out of 10 of those millionaires, they say it was Think and Grow Rich. And if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it, because that book was written by Napoleon Hill. There are a lot of versions right now, a lot of editions and modifications that, with commentaries and stuff like that has been added to the video, to the book. But I think one of the most fundamental things that make this book different than any other book that has been reading about the topic is that this book was an assignment from Carnegie back in the last century, because Carnegie was at some point the richest man on earth, and he wanted to leave a legacy. He wanted to find out what was it that made people highly successful, and he wanted to document that and leave that legacy, even though he didn't write it himself. So he was looking for someone who would take the challenge, and it was quite a challenge, because there were certain requirements for the person that was going to be writing that book. Of course, Andrew Carnegie, as being one of the richest men in the world, he had all the connections. So his plan was to put one person in front of the richest and most successful people in the world at the time, and so that person can follow them along, pick their brain, understand their way of thinking, and come up with a formula, with common formula that all of those people were applying. What was it? What was their recipe? But there was one thing. He was interviewing people for the position, but he said whoever is going to be the person has to make the decision in less than 1 minute. But why was so difficult about this decision? Well, the person had to dedicate the next 20 years of his or her life to document all this, to investigate all of this, to spend time with these people, to understand their psychology and everything, all their process. But the person was not going to receive one single penny as a payment. So imagine, what would you say if they ask you to work 20 years without receiving one single cent. I don't think anyone right now in these times would have taken such assignment. But not only that, the person had to make the decision in less than 1 minute. So when Carnegie finally interviewed Napoleon Hill, who was a journalist at the time, he had, without Napoleon Hill knowing, he had a clock. So when he made the proposal, he started his timer to see what was Napoleon Hill going to say, and he had to make the decision in less than 1 minute. I don't know why he did it that way. But he said yes. And he wrote the formula, and everything is laid out in that book. And actually, Napoleon Hill struggled financially for many years. Many years. But when he finally published his book, Think and Grow Rich, he became an instant millionaire. It was right there, in a moment. He became a millionaire. And like I said, I don't think there's anyone who has written one book that had created more millionaires than Napoleon Hill with his book, Think and Grow Rich. So it's quite an interesting story, but not only the book will help you achieve those incredible goals, become very successful and wealthy, but many people don't talk about the spiritual foundation of the book, because it also has a very powerful spiritual foundation. It's a spiritual book. And Tony Robbins says that being an entrepreneur is a spiritual journey. I think so. I used to be an employee for many years, and since I became an entrepreneur, not only because of the fact that you're out there to serve other people, but the fact that you have to deal with a lot of mental stuff if you want to be successful at it. You're going to have to master your inner game in order to be successful. So that, in my opinion, that's the number one book. But I would like to know what your thoughts are, as I asked at the beginning. Do you agree? You don't agree? What do you think for you would be the number one law of attraction book? See you in the next video, okay?